Everybody needs to realize that this is a very rare occurrence.
What I really love about this story is they took it upon themselves to try to capture the cubs because they didn't want those cubs to be starving out there.
And so grizzly bears are listed on the endangered species list as threatened.
It's a difficult situation because if we can't find a place for those cubs, our next step is basically euthanizing those, and we don't want to do that.
A hiker north of Helena, Montana was going for his routine hike in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains near the town of Dupuyer. As the trail crested a small hill, he heard the sound of bear cubs and immediately turned around and walked quickly back down the trail. A moment later, he looked back to see a mother grizzly running full speed towards him. She sunk her teeth into his thigh as he was pulling out his handgun. He was able to fire a few rounds at this understandably protective bear. The bear retreated and the man called for help.
Common misconceptions about grizzlies, that they are always a threat to humans. They're not always looking to attack humans. It does occur occasionally, but most of the time grizzly bears don't want anything to do with humans, and you can recreate safely in grizzly bear habitat if you know what you're doing and are prepared.
The Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife and Parks was alerted and the search was on for this wounded bear. A helicopter was dispatched and the wounded bear was found. Her injuries were determined to be too severe to be repaired, and the euthanasia decision was made for humane reasons. That left an unknown number of cubs alone in the Rocky Mountains with a slim chance of survival. The Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks Department put the word out to all the landowners in the area to be on the lookout for orphaned grizzly cubs.
2 days later, we had a family, the Briggs family, that were coming back from dinner in Valier, Montana, and they looked into the field and they saw 3 cubs, and they already knew about the female, and they knew that there might potentially be cubs out there, so they stopped.
We knew that the fishing game had been trying. They flew for almost a day looking for the cubs and couldn't find them. And so our concern was we knew there was a big storm coming that night, and we knew it had been 2 days since they'd been with their mom. Starvation was definitely a likely possibility.
So they took it upon themselves to try to capture the cubs and their ranching family, so they were able to do this by gently roping them.
So he was roping him, and our 14-year-old son was
he was roping it, yeah.
The other 2 kids had one on a line, and I had one on a line.
Got a barrel. They were able to scoop the cubs up, take them back to their ranch while we showed up. And then once they were able to get a hold of us, we got them, and then the next day our bear manager, Mike Madel, brought them down to us, and they've been at the Wildlife Center for the last 7 weeks while we found a home.
We're supposed to be managing bears, and I try and one of my jobs is to keep track of mortality. They were not killed, but removing them from the ecosystem and out of the wild, we count those as mortalities in terms of population numbers. The state took the lead on that, but we coordinated that effort because it is a threatened species, so we can't just put them anywhere. When we decide where cubs should go, there are permits needed. You know, there's not that many places for them. A bear can live to 25, maybe 30 years in captivity. And if we place a bear, you just think that space is taken for, if it's a cub, 25 years.
We try to save bears as well as protect livestock, protect human safety. And so we go through a rigorous process and a rigorous question and answer series of things to come up with conclusions.
Since grizzly cubs are still listed as a threatened species on the federal endangered species list, Bearizona needed approval from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The initial answer from the federal agency was a firm no. But the agent in charge of these grizzlies kept an open mind, listened to the passionate arguments of Bearizona, and worked hard to find their way to a yes.
Bearizona had been suggested in the past as being a credible facility. We did our research. We talked to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service because they are a threatened species. Talked to the state where Bearizona is at. Arizona, asked them what their opinion of Bearizona was. And all of the factors that we were looking for from the standpoint of care for the animals long-term were in place there. So that's what our decision process was.
There's a lot of facilities out there that don't provide very good care. And so we have standards that we need to go through.
I felt really confident that these bears would have a really good home to go to. Arizona, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, they all had really good things to say about Bearizona, so we felt really good about them going there.
One of the most persuasive points Bearizona made in the competition for these 3 grizzly cubs was the promise to build a state-of-the-art grizzly exhibit with the goal of being the best exhibit in the United States. After a few weeks of discussion, research, and legal consultation, Agent Hillary Cooley called with great news. Bearizona was approved. After all the needed paperwork was signed and the veterinary checkups were performed, a team from Bearizona prepared their air-conditioned animal transport van and headed north to Helena, Montana. It was a 1,000-mile journey that the team planned on pulling off as quickly as possible to minimize the stress on the cubs.
These 3 bears had kind of a crappy start in life, you know. What the bottom line is they're gonna have the best forever home that they could ever hope for. So it's like we're reintroducing grizzly bears to a certain extent back into Arizona right now. And I find that super exciting, you know, and plus, you know, they're the pinnacle of bear species. Maybe in Alaska, those coastal bears are huge. They're, you know, 1,200, 1,300 pounds, stand 10 feet tall. I don't know how big these bears are gonna get, but they're gonna be pretty magnificent.
With the 3 grizzly cubs safely in the rescue cub area of Bearizona Wildlife Park, work began immediately on the new, spectacular exhibit that would be their permanent home. The 40,000 square foot habitat was planned to feature a mountain range of 50-foot tall peaks that replicate the Teton Mountains of Wyoming, a roaring 2,000-gallon-a-minute waterfall, and many other water features. Bearizona Wildlife Park wanted to give these bears names that honored both the state where they were born and the people who helped Bearizona in their rescue. The biggest female was named Hanna, in honor of the world-famous Jack Hanna, who helped Bearizona during each of their 3 attempts at acquiring orphan grizzlies. The male cub was named Crocket, after the Boone and Crocket Conservation Ranch near Dupuyer, Montana, where the mother was known to have roamed. It also honors the rancher who saved the cubs, who was the manager of the Boone and Crocket Ranch at the time. The smallest female was named Sky, after the beautiful Big Sky state of Montana.
Grizzly bears are often perceived as being these animals that are on the hunt for human beings, that they're very predatory, and when they attack, that is the case, that they're looking for food. But what we have found actually when there is a bear encounter, or when there is a situation where there's human-bear conflict and that attack ensues, it's really about them being defensive. And more than likely, it's because they have young with them.
There's a lot of people that now are a little concerned about getting down on the river and fishing, you know, because of bears along the creek. And so we really try to encourage people to get out, to carry bear spray, to be cognizant of where they're at, walking down along the creek bottoms. One of the most important things about bear spray and getting people to use bear spray is to get them to understand that, is to know where it's at. Not to be carrying it in a backpack where, you know, you have to take your backpack off, but always keep it in the same spot and you can access it really quickly, because encounters happen really fast too. And you know, your chances of that kind of encounter are really rare, but it might happen, especially if you like to explore a lot. It's better to spray it low than it is to spray it high, because it tends to roll out as a red spray. So, you know, it's a very handy tool, and we, like I said, we really encourage hikers, residents, and all sorts of people that use the outdoors in carrying bear spray.